Alright guys, back at the lake. First hand I looked down at ace queen 10-4, single suited in the small blind. There are a couple middle position limpers. Late position player makes it 30. I call and one of the limpers call, so we're going three ways to a flop. Flop comes jack 9-5 rainbow. Checks over to the original raiser who bets 60. I make the call and the limper calls, so we're still going three ways to a turn. Turn brings a 7, I check, the limper checks, and the button checks, so still going three ways to a river. River brings an ace. I decide to turn my hand into a bluff and bet 140. We get the limper to fold, but we don't get the button to fold, who makes the call. So I say one pair. He turns over his hand. He has ace, queen, jack 4. So river 2 pair, and he's going to take it down. I go card dev for a while after that previous hand until I look down at ace, jack, jack 7, double suited on the button in a straddled pot. There are two limpers. Folds to me, I make it 60, and we get two callers. So we're going three ways to a flop. Flop comes queen 8-5 with two hearts. Checks over to the cutoff to my right who bets 205. And here I don't really love the situation, but with the SPR so low, I just have to go with it. So I push over to the early position player who actually re-pushes over the top, and the cutoff makes the call. So we're going three ways to a run out. Turn brings a pretty good card for us in the jack of clubs. River brings the front door flush in with the 4 of hearts. So not really sure if I wanted the heart at that point. But the player to my right, there's a little side pot they have, and he turns over king, queen, 8-2. So he flopped 2 pair. The other player mucks, and I turn over my hand, and obviously we're taking down the main pot here. Here look down at jack, jack, 6-4, single suited in the big blind in a straddled pot. There are 3 late position limpers over to the small blind who completes. I decide to call as well, and the straddler checks. So we're going 6 ways to a flop. Flop comes king, jack 4 rainbow. Checks over to one of the late position players who bet 60. Folds to me, I make it 200, and back to the original bettor who makes the call. So we're going heads up to a turn. Turn brings another 4. I decide to try to trap and check, and my opponent unfortunately checks back. So still going heads up to a river. River brings a 7, which unfortunately doesn't bring in any straights or anything for my opponent to have. I decided to down bet, maybe get a crying call from a king and bet 100. Unfortunately, my opponent folds, so we take it down. Here look down at queen 10-7-5, double suited in the cutoff. Early position player makes it 15. Hijack to my right calls. I call, the button calls. Over to the small blind who makes it 50. 2 callers to me, I call, and the button calls. So we're going 5 ways to a flop. Flop comes king, jack 9 rainbow. Checks over to the hijack who bets 220. Over to me, only one move for me to make. I go ahead and push. Folds back to the hijack who makes the fold, so we take it down. I don't think my call pre-flop with queen 10-7-5 was really that great, but sometimes calling with double suited trash pays off. Here look down at ace jack 10-9, double suited in the cutoff. There's an early position raise to 20. 1 caller to me, I 3-bet to 80. Over to the original raiser, he only has 60 total. He makes the call and the other player calls, so we're going 3 ways to a flop. Flop comes jack 6-5 with 2 diamonds. My opponent checks to me, I bet 200, and my opponent folds, so we're going heads up against the short stack to a run out. Turn brings a 3 of hearts. River brings 9 of diamonds, so I turn over my hand knowing we have the nuts, and my opponent mucks, so we're taking it down. Here look down at ace 6-4, double suited in the hijack. There's an early position raise to 20. 2 callers to me. I 3-bet to 105. Over to the player to my right who makes the call, so we're going heads up to a flop. Flop comes pretty awful for us in 9-8-6 with 2 spades. My opponent immediately pots it, and not really much I can do here besides fold. Here look down at ace 10-9-4, double suited under the gun in a straddled pot. I limp over to the late position player who makes it 50. There are 3 callers to me, and I call, so we're going 5 ways to a flop. Flop comes jack 5-2 with 2 diamonds. Checks over to me, I bet 225, and everyone folds, so we take it down. Here look down at queen jack 10-10, single suited in middle position. Folds to me, I open a 20, and there are 3 callers, so we're going 4 ways to a flop. Flop comes queen 5-2 rainbow. Early position player bets 25. Folds to me, I make the call, and everyone else folds, so we're going heads up to a turn. Turn brings a 10. My opponent checks to me, and I bet 110, and my opponent quickly makes the call, so we're going heads up to a river. River brings a king, and my opponent's counting out some chips, and he bets 150 over to me. It definitely seemed very value-y in the moment. I thought for a little bit. I believe that me having the blocker made me eventually go with the call. So that's what I do, and my opponent turns over ace jack 8-7. So he turned a double gutter and hit it on the river, and he's going to take it down. Here look down at ace 9-8-7, single suited in the cutoff. Folds to me, I open a 20, and only the small blind calls, so we're going heads up to a flop. Flop comes 9-5-2 with 2 diamonds. My opponent checks to me. I bet 25 and he makes the call. So we're going heads up to a turn. I'm thinking of a card in my head and the turn brings the 6 of clubs, bringing in the backdoor flush. My opponent checks to me again. I bet 70 and he thinks a bit and makes the call. So still heads up to a river. River brings a king of spades. My opponent's counting out some chips and he bets 105. I think for a sec and make it 325. He ends up tanking for probably about a minute and unfortunately ends up folding, so we take it down. Here I look down at ace, ace, king 10, single suited in early position. Folds to me, I open to 20. There are 2 callers over to the button who makes it 100. One of the blinds calls over to me, I call, and 1 other caller. So we're going 4 ways to a flop. Flop comes ace, queen 6, rainbow. Checks over to me, I check. Unfortunately, action checks through, so still going 4 ways to a turn. Turn brings a king, checks to me again, I bet 100, and all my opponents fold, so we take it down. After the ace, ace, king 10 hand, went card dead for a bit, and I decided to rack up shortly after.
What's up guys, Wayne back here with you. So today I was in for 600, out for 1400, so profit of 800. If you haven't already done so, check out my previous video. I'll link it up here, and I'll see you guys next time. Take care.